Hey, Unbound ones, it's Nicola Humbert here, and today I am sharing my Unbound writing masterclass with you. So, this is a session where I'm going to be talking about specifically around the idea of writing a book and getting your book out there into the world. Now, I'm not a writing teacher. I'm not a book coach. I'm none of those things, but I do have experience of writing and publishing two books over the past few years. I've always written for my business ever since I started my business 9 years ago. And I can say, thinking about it, the majority of my clients, probably 80, if not 90% of my clients come to me through my writing in one way or another. Either they've read one of my books, or an article or a blog that is based around the themes that I talk about in my books, or even a social media post. All of my clients, or my email, a weekly email that I send to the people on my email list. All of my clients tend to come to me through my writing. And what I also have experience of, and one of the things that I'm passionate about in my work generally, is helping women to connect with their freest, fullest selves, their unbound selves. So what I'm going to be talking about today is actually harnessing the power of your unbound self when you're writing. Because as an unbound woman, you're going to find it really hard to write in a kind of systematic, formulaic way. We can all write a book and get something written, whether it's a book or a blog post or a social media post or whatever it is. We can all write from up here and kind of figure out, okay, what's the most sensible, what's the most helpful thing for me to share right now? Okay, I'm going to kind of figure it out from up here and write something from that place. We can do that, and we can do it pretty quickly, and we can put something out into the world. What I want to help you to do is to write your book from a place of kind of down here, down in your creative center, really tapping into the true essence of what it is you're here to share in the world, the message that you're here to share. And for you to create transformation for yourself through the writing process. So you're not just creating transformation for your readers, but you're creating it for yourself. So it's about unlocking your true voice, your unbound voice, and sharing that with the world. Because when we do that, everything shifts. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about why you might be wanting to write a book, and why, if you've been feeling the call to write a book. And I know that a lot of the women in my community, like virtually every woman that I meet or that I speak to, tells me that they really want to write a book, and they feel they've got this book inside them that needs to come out. So I'm going to be talking about why now is the perfect time to write your book. And I'm going to be talking about 3 barriers that could be getting in the way of your writing right now, and how to move through them. Okay, so like I said, and if you're watching this, it's pretty likely that you're feeling this call to write a book. And I know from speaking to women in my community of Unbound women that so many of them are feeling this desire and have been feeling it for a long time. Okay, I know for me, when I was thinking about writing my first book, actually, I've wanted to write a book since I was a little girl. I always knew that I would write something, that I would write a book in one way or another, but it took me a long time to do it. It was a good 6-7 years into my business. I'd been blogging for 6 or 7 years before I actually started to write my first book, even though I'd started a number of times. So I understand what it's like to be in that place of thinking about. And my intention for you today is to move you from that place of just thinking about writing a book, and for it to be a dream there in the background, to actually start the process and to move into a place of actually writing your book and making that commitment to yourself, because it is a commitment. So why is now a good time to be writing your book? Well, like I say, if you're feeling the call, we have desires for a reason. If you're feeling the desire to write a book, it's no accident. This is something that you're meant to be doing. And everything happens at the perfect time. So if you make the decision to write your book now, then it is going to be the perfect time for you to do it. And there are a number of benefits to writing a book. There's too many to speak about, really. But the main ones that I see and that I've experienced is, when you have a book, it really helps you to anchor into your unique expertise and experience. And you may be thinking, I haven't got any expertise, Nicola. Because for a lot of women, we have this stuff coming up about, who will want to hear what I've got to write about? Who will want to hear about my experience? Who will want to hear about what I've got to share? Okay, so, part of the work is to actually move through those fears and those doubts and to acknowledge that, oh my goodness, the world really needs to hear what you've got to say. The world really needs your unbound voice. Actually, through the process of writing a book and having that kind of finished product. So, just for me to have this, my first book was Heal Your Inner Good Girl, to have this in my hands. And, you might not decide to publish it in paperback or an actual book. You might decide to publish a Kindle version. But, in either case, it's so powerful to have this representation of your voice, of your expertise, of your experience. It really helps you to anchor into it and get more confidence in what you're here to do. It elevates your status, which sounds a bit kind of highfalutin. But that sense of elevation, it's in the eyes of, the people around you, your audience, the people who follow you, the people in your network. It's a big thing to write a book and to put it out there. So it does create this sense of elevation. But I think the most important thing is it does it for yourself. Like I said, it helps to build confidence. You have this physical representation of your message, of your voice, of your experience, of your work. And that's a really powerful thing. It kind of creates almost this shift physically within your body. It gives you and your audience clarity about your message and what you're here to share. So, the people in your audience, they have something that they can go to read more about you without you having to be there all the time, kind of posting on social media or writing different blogs. They have a way to go deeper with that and to find out more about you and your work and what you're here to share. But it also gives you more clarity about your message. And I'm going to be talking more about that, how we gain clarity actually through the process of writing, which is a really powerful thing. And your book becomes your foundation. It becomes your calling card and your inspiration for everything you do, or it can do. Okay, so your book can become inspiration for you for other things that you want to put out there into the world, for different programs and workshops and retreats. It's a resource for your audience, but it's also a resource for you. If I'm feeling a bit stuck about, I want to share something or I want to create something, but I'm feeling a bit stuck around it, I can go back to, my book, particularly the new book, Unbound, and think, okay, and, read bits and pieces and think, or someone might say to me, oh my goodness, Nicola, I found that really helpful. And I'm like, okay, it sparks off an idea for me. Maybe I could run a workshop around that. Maybe I could run a retreat around that. Okay, so it gives you this source of deep inspiration and this gorgeous foundation for you to build on. Okay. So like I said, pretty much everyone wants to write a book, but very few people actually do it and get their books out into the world. So many people, like I said, are either in this place of thinking about it or maybe even the process of writing a book, but it's been going on for kind of months and years and never really getting to the point of putting it out there into the world. And there are a number of barriers that can get in the way, and I'm going to speak about those now. There are things that have come up for me, and they're the things that come up from the women that I speak to. The first one is like timing, and specifically this idea that there's, you don't have enough time to write your book. So there can be this belief that you'll have to spend kind of years at your desk, hours at a time, like tied to your desk, writing your book, that it's going to be this epic endeavor that is going to take up all of your time. And we hear stories of authors, getting up in the middle of the night to write, spending hours in their office, all day in their office at their desk writing. And yeah, it can be like that. It can be. People write in different ways. And I always say, when people ask me about my writing and when I write and how long I write for every day and how I do that, I always say, I will share my process, but, do what feels good for you. So it might feel good for you to kind of get your book done and to sit at your desk and in your office until it is done. Okay. For me, that's not the case. And what I have found is that actually to write your book, it takes much less time than you might imagine, okay, particularly when you're writing from this unbound place where you're really kind of in your gift, you're sharing the true essence of what you're here to share. And you're in this place of allowing whatever wants to come through to come through. I'm going to be talking about that more in the next point. Your book can happen very quickly. I wrote both of my books in very small chunks of time. So I'm not a big one. I'm an unbound woman. I can't sit at my desk for too long. I'm a bit nuts if I sit at my desk for too long. And, I'm not one to go off for a days and maybe take a retreat and write all day, every day for like a period of time. That's not me. So I wrote both of my books in very small chunks of time, around 30 to 45 minutes at a time. I would sit down pretty much daily. Certainly for Heal You're in a Good Girl, I did this daily, weekdays when I was writing the book. I made that commitment. With Unbound, it was a bit more off and on. I was a bit more unbound around the process. But you can write your book in very small chunks of time. And there's something about giving yourself permission to do it in that way, because the inspiration flows through. You're not in this place of kind of pushing or trying or like sitting there like, I've got to force this out of me. You just allow yourself to be in this place of, I'm going to let this come through for as long as it wants to come through for. And then when it stops, I'm going to go off and do something else. It may be that you choose to write for longer than 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Okay. But when you say, oh, I'm just going to do that. And, this is a tip that I picked up. I think I saw something from Liz Gilbert a number of years ago when I was writing, or before I wrote Heal You're in a Good Girl, where she said that, one of her books she did write in, I'm sure it was Liz Gilbert, in 30-minute chunks. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. Because we can have this idea that writers have to kind of be at their desk writing all day, every day. And like I said, particularly as an unbound woman, that is not probably going to do it for you. You're going to find that restrictive and limiting, that idea that you have to be at your desk. So when we allow ourselves to write in this unbound way, it can take a lot less time. In terms of our kind of daily routine, it can take up a lot less time than we might imagine. And the power of those kind of smaller chunks of time, and the fact that we're giving ourselves permission to write in that way is very powerful, because, we can end up with this really good chunk of writing that builds up over time. And rather than having to sit and really force it out of you in these long stretches of time. Also, we need to acknowledge that we are cyclical beings. And, this is one of the 5 principles of living unbound, is to harness the power of your cyclical nature. So your writing is cyclical as well. Some days you may be feeling super inspired and you do want to sit at your desk or wherever you go, or in the coffee shop, wherever you go to write. For a longer period of time, because it's really flowing through you want to get stuff done, you're in that place. Other days you may not want to write at all. But, you know, some of the advice we receive around writing is, you know, it's very rigid, and it's like, oh, a writer writes every day and you have to write for a certain amount of time, and just sit at your desk, and if there's no inspiration coming, just kind of battle on through it. Which, you know, all of this can be helpful in different ways, but it doesn't acknowledge our cyclical nature. So I think, you know, in terms of timing, we need to give ourselves permission to respond to those ebbs and flows in our energy and those ebbs and flows in our creativity. And, you know, sometimes I will just kind of give myself, if I'm feeling kind of tired, or I'm a bit of a lull, or I'm a stage in my cycle where I'm feeling this lull in my energy, just giving myself permission to, actually, I'm not going to write today, or I'm not going to do something in particular today. Giving yourself permission to do that and acknowledging the ebbs and flow in your energy. Sometimes you might, you know, by giving yourself permission not to do something, you might feel, actually, yeah, okay, I gave myself kind of an hour or two not to do anything, and now I'm really feeling like I want to do it. So, you know, it's very counterintuitive. By giving ourselves permission not to do something, sometimes we actually gain that sense of motivation to do it. But you certainly want to be taking your cyclical nature into account with your writing, and honoring that and acknowledging that, and not overriding it, because that is when you really are able to tap into the true essence of what you're here to share. So that's barrier number one, time, and feeling that you don't have enough time. And like I said, in my experience personally, and working with other women and speaking to other women, writing your book can take a lot less time than you might imagine. And you've probably done a lot of it already in one way or another, either through writing that you've done, or, you know, the experiences that you've had. That this has been bubbling away for a while, I'm sure. So when you actually make that commitment and decide to do it, you'll be surprised at how quickly stuff starts to come through you. So the second barrier that I see, or that I hear about, and that I've experienced too, is when you're not sure what to write about, and this belief that you have to have it all figured out before you start. So if you haven't got your title, and you're not exactly sure what you're going to be writing about, and you haven't got all of your chapters mapped out, then you can't start the process. And that is just not true. And it is certainly not true for the Unbound woman, because the Unbound woman, she is multifaceted and she's limitless. Okay, and the Unbound woman has lots of different creative ideas going on at any one time, which is a gift, but it can also be challenging, because we can get distracted by all of these ideas. It's like, oh, which one should I follow? Should I go off and do this or this or this? That's why it's really powerful to actually make the decision to write your book and to make it a priority. But I'm going to talk about that some more in the next point. So because we have all of this stuff going on, we have all these different ideas, we've had all of these different experiences, and it's like, how do I distill this into an actual book? How do I get it onto the page? Rather than waiting for that clarity to come to you and trying to figure it all out before you start writing, what I have found and what I have seen is that you gain an immense amount of clarity through the writing process. So it's one approach, and this is something that I was told or that I was advised when I was writing the first book, Heal Your Inner Good Girl. It was like, through your work, you will have a particular system or a process in place when you're working with your clients. And when you have that system, you figure out exactly what you do with your people, then you write about that. So you have the clarity first, and then you write from that place. That didn't work for me, because I've never really worked in this kind of systematic, formulaic way. And I know I can see the power in that. But the way I work with my clients is pretty much magical, and it's very much based on the kind of interaction between our energies, whether it's individually or in a group. And that's not so easy to write about. It's not so easy to talk about, when you're a magical being and you work in this magical way. So it might not feel like there's a lot of clarity there to be writing about. So the Unbound approach is to give yourself permission to gain clarity on your process, on your magic, on your message through writing. Okay, so you make the decision to write your book first. That is the first thing. And as soon as you do that, you will, information will start to come through you. You will start to gain insight into what is meant to go into the book. Now, this demands trust, okay, a huge amount of trust. And this is the same with everything in life, in my experience. We make the decision first and then things start to fall into place. And another element that, you have to be in this place of trust and faith around is that the process can be non-linear. I've spoken about how we're cyclical beings. And I found this, particularly as I was allowing and harnessing the power of my cyclical nature more and more within the writing of Unbound, was that the writing process, it wasn't linear. It wasn't this, okay, I'm going to write chapter 1 today, and then I'm going to write chapter 2 next week. It didn't happen like that. I had to give myself permission to write whatever wanted to come through. I was very attentive to what was going on around me, personally, and, things that my clients would say or my clients were working with. I was paying attention to that. I was allowing myself to be inspired by everything that was happening once I made the decision to write the book, because once you make the decision, you create this powerful container which allows your book to start taking form. But very often it doesn't happen in this nice step-by-step linear way. I don't know if it ever happens like that. We can force it to happen like that, but what I'm talking about here is not about forcing or pushing. It's much more about allowing. So, you may have something coming through on one day, and then the next day you want to write about something completely different. It's like, oh, this doesn't even make sense. How is this all going to fit together? So we have to be in this place of trust, because we're writing over a period of time. So yeah, from day to day, it may not seem to make sense. It may not seem to kind of follow on or seem coherent. But once we get a few months down the line and we look back at what we've written, even though it felt like it was completely non-linear and maybe even nonsensical, it's like, oh, okay, I can see how this hangs together with this. And different themes will start to come through. Okay, so that's very much been my experience, actually with both of my books, but particularly with Unbound. I knew that I was writing a new book, and I set that intention, and I started to write. And I didn't write actually consistently for the first kind of 6, maybe even 8 months of the writing process. I was just writing bits and pieces as I felt inspired or curious about a particular topic. It didn't feel, it felt completely non-linear. It was completely non-linear. And then when I got kind of about 6 to 8 months down the line, it was like, oh, okay, like these very strong themes were coming through, and I could see that what I was writing about and what I've been experiencing in my life kind of all fed in to what became the final book. So it does demand trust, and that can be challenging. But when you know that you are going to gain immense clarity through the writing process, again, it creates that sense of freedom. It's like, okay, I don't have to have it all figured out. I'm going to figure it out through the writing. Okay. And like I said, making the decision to write is key, because that's what allows all of this magic to happen. Okay, so the third barrier that I see getting in the way of women actually deciding to commit to their book is that it just doesn't feel like a priority. You've got, like I said, as an unbound woman, you're multifaceted, you're limitless, you've got all of these creative ideas coming up. And, any benefits of writing a book can seem a long way off, because it's like, when I'm going to write this book, maybe that's going to take 6 months, and then I'm going to go through the publishing process, whatever route you decide to take. I mean, you can get a book out very quickly, but you're probably looking at around, at least 6 months from start to finish, at least. So it can feel like, well, why would I want to start committing to something now when I've got all of these other demands on my time? I want to be kind of working with my clients and attracting new clients and marketing myself and whatever it is, if you have your own business, why would I focus on writing a book when the results are way over there? Okay. As I've said, when you write in an unbound way, it takes much less time than you think. And actually, the writing process itself can be incredibly powerful and transformational for you in terms of your life and your business. Okay. And you can start to create that transformation for your audience and your clients and your potential readers before the actual finished book goes out into the world. So, it can be really powerful in that way. So a reason to make it a priority is, one, it doesn't have to be a huge demand on your time when you write in this unbound way. And also, as you're writing, you're gaining this clarity, which is really powerful. And what you will find is that everything that you experience ties into your writing, and your writing ties into everything else. So as you're writing, you will begin to feel inspired around other projects. Also, you might be writing a particular chapter or around a particular theme for a book, and it's like, oh, okay, I could do like a workshop around this, or I could offer a program around this, or, this would be a really good idea for a podcast. And then you could start, doing that, working on that project. And again, because you're tapping into the true essence of what you're here to do, you're tapping into your unbound voice. Any projects that you work on, they're not going to feel, everything, you have to put energy and time into things. But when we're working in this unbound way and we're like tapping into our truth, things that could have felt like I said, like an ordeal, like we have to, like it demands a lot of our energy, it feels like it's draining, they actually start to free up, and things happen, you feel more energized, and things happen in this more easeful way. So you're gaining inspiration through your writing for other projects. And when you're allowing yourself to create these other projects alongside your writing, whatever they may be, and it may be, you bring this into your one-to-one client work, if you work with clients one-to-one, then you're gaining extra, it's this delicious like upward spiral, because you gain extra inspiration for your writing. So it's really powerful. Also, what I encourage for my clients and for the women I work with is to very much kind of share as you go. So you don't have to wait for the book to be finished before you start sharing it. You very much share the process, and you can share elements of your writing either as a blog post that's inspired by something you're writing about for the book, or an article, maybe as a webinar or a Facebook Live like this, or it may be an interview series. You start to share elements of your book before it's even published. So it starts to, one, build an audience for yourself, but that can also lead to clients coming to you, clients through your writing, and other opportunities, speaking opportunities, all of these kinds of things, or invitations to be interviewed. All of this can start to happen way before the actual book goes out into the world. And then what happens is, you have this audience for your book once it is ready. But, you don't have to wait for kind of months down the line for it to be out there before you're starting to reap the benefits. So it's a very strong reason to make your book a priority, is, you can start gaining benefits from that straight away. And it just feels, there's this sense of kind of, it's really hard to put into words, but there's something really solid about the process of writing a book. It's, like I said, it creates this sense of elevation and enriches everything that you do, or it can do, when you write in this unbound way. Somebody asked me the question earlier about how to write a financially successful book. And there can be fears around, well, it can be quite costly. If you're going to self-publish, then you want to think about like the costs of getting your book out there. hiring a designer, the actual self-publishing process, hiring an editor, marketing, all of those kind of things. How do you kind of create a financially successful book? And what I would say to that is, there are lots of different ways of publishing. And it's about finding the right way for you. It doesn't have to be a costly process, but you can start reaping the financial benefits of your book, like I say, long before it's actually out there in the world. When I was writing Unbound, I published a number of articles and blogs that were related to the things that I was writing about for the book. And pretty much all of my clients that I worked with last year came to me through that writing in one way or another. So, before Unbound's only come out a month ago, but probably definitely for the last year or so, the clients who have come to me, like whether that's for group programs or my retreats or one-to-one clients, they've come to me through Unbound, and the process of writing the book and what I've shared around that. So you can create a great deal of financial success throughout the process of writing, and obviously beyond. You want to create a book with longevity that you can work with, that will be this foundation for everything that you do for months and years beyond the release date. Okay. Yeah. And that's another reason to really be writing from this place of your unbound self and what you're truly passionate about and what you're truly here to share in the world. Because if you're just thinking about it from up here and like, what's the best book for me to write? What's the most, what's going to be most attractive to my audience? If you're writing from that place and you're not writing from a place of what you're truly passionate about, then, once it's out there, it can be difficult to keep that sense of momentum and energy going around it, because it's like, oh, that felt like a bit of an ordeal to write, and now I just want to move on to something else. Whereas thinking, oh my goodness, this has distilled all of my magic into these pages, and now I'm really excited to go away and create other things around my book and to speak about it to other people. Okay. So then you get this real longevity of financial success around your book, because, the reality is very few authors make a huge amount of money from their book sales, unless you're kind of a hugely best-selling author. That is not where there is a huge amount of money to be made. You're going to make your money from everything that springs up around your book, and from what it activates within you and what it activates within your readers. So I think that's really important to acknowledge and to say. Okay, so hopefully that's given you some ideas or kind of triggered off some thoughts around what might have been holding you back, and built up this sense of, yeah, I can do this and I want to do this and I'd love to do it in this kind of more unbound way. And like I said, making that decision, making that commitment to yourself is absolutely key. And sometimes we can have an idea to do something and it gets pushed back, for months or even years at a time. And I've certainly spoken to women where kind of writing a book is something that keeps getting pushed to the back of the queue, because there's this sense that it will take a huge amount of commitment and time. And yeah, it takes commitment, it takes energy, it takes time, but not necessarily as much as you imagined. So if this is something that you're feeling called to do at the moment, I have an invitation for you. As I said, it's really important to make a clear decision to write your book, and that sense of commitment and activation is really key. But, writing can be a lonely process when it's just you and the page, whether you type or you kind of handwrite, whatever it is, it can feel a bit lonely. You can feel isolated. So it's really important to have some kind of support in place, which I have had with both of my books. With my first book, I had a writing buddy. We were both writing our first books, and we would check in with each other once a week, to have accountability and to share challenges. When I was writing the second book, I was working with a mentor And I was also working with the people that I'd chosen to be my publisher, you know, to have that sense of support and accountability, and also to really tune into what I wanted to share. So it's really important to have that, because when we're working from this place of trust, you know, allowing whatever wants to come through, that can be challenging, because the more logical part of us, our ego, can kind of go, wow, I don't think anyone's going to want to hear this, and why aren't you writing in a more straightforward kind of systematic way, and you know, you're not really a writer, and all of these doubts can come up. So I think it's really important to have support in place, and the power of community is really important here. Having people around you who have a similar intention and have the same or a similar way of approaching things. Because if you're an unbound woman, like I said, you're going to find it very hard to fit into any kind of rigid structure or system or formulaic way of doing things. So you want to have people around you who get you, who can lift you up, and support you in your challenges. So as I said, I have an invitation for you, something that I am putting together right now, which I'm very excited about. It's called the Unbound Writing Mastermind. And this is a 6-month process for a small group of women who I'm inviting to work with me and also with each other. So we are starting in the middle of August, and we'll go through to the beginning of next year. And my intention for each of the women who joins the mastermind is that your book will be ready, or the body of your book will be ready, by early 2019. So you will be ready to, or, you know, putting the finishing touches to it so that you can release it into the world, so you get to really benefit and work with your book throughout 2019. So like, as I said at the beginning of this, I'm not a writing teacher, I'm not a writing coach, but I do have a lot of experience with writing. I also have a lot of experience of growing and evolving my business through my writing. And a big part of the mastermind is going to be about unlocking your unbound voice. So identifying and moving through any of these fears that can come up around, you know, who am I to do this? What will people think of me when I'm, you know, writing from this place of truth, from this unbound place? Like, all of these fears and doubts that can come up, we're really helping to identify them and to move through them. That's, you know, that's my zone of genius when I'm working with my clients. And I'm going to be helping you to do that throughout the writing process, because the idea is that you write a book, like I say, that not only creates transformation for your readers, but it also transforms you through the writing of it and beyond. So if you're looking for something which is more systematic, then the Unbound Writing Mastermind is not going to be for you, because we're going to be really working within the 5 principles of Unbound, of living unbound as well, which are, you know, to allow yourself to be guided by your pleasure. So we're really going to be tuning into what feels good in terms of what you're writing, and also the writing process. We're going to be harnessing the power of your cyclical nature, so really tuning into those times, those ebbs and flows in your energy, and working with them rather than against them. You're going to be writing from your gift. So one of the principles of living unbound is to live in and from your gift. So we're really going to be getting to that place where what you're writing really represents, really captures your unique gift that you're here to share with the world. We are going to be harnessing like the alchemy of shadow integration. So uncovering those places that maybe you've kind of been wanting to hide, or you've forgotten that you have, those qualities that you've forgotten that you have, bringing all of that back together and into your writing. So you're writing from this really magical and whole and full place. And we're going to be working with the principle of sisterhood, and the unbound woman thrives in sisterhood. So, you know, the mastermind is going to be this group of women with a similar intention, with a similar approach, and that that the support that you receive from that is extremely powerful. And what I envision is that, you know, within the group, yeah, we're going to be writing your book within the group, but there will also be kind of potential collaborations within that group, where, you know, you may decide to work together in one way or another, or, you know, different people share different women's work with their audience. There's this wonderful sense of synergy that's going to happen when this group comes together. And beyond all else, it's going to activate you to actually get your book done. So we're working within, you know, a relatively short, it's a really nice amount of time, 6 months to get your book done. Even if you've no idea what you want to write about at the moment, we're going to get started right away. We're going to get into the writing because, as I said, you gain an immense amount of clarity through doing. So I'm going to pop the details of the mastermind below this video so you can take a look. The doors are open now. I'm opening the doors with this masterclass, so you can take a look. We get started on August the 14th, and there, you know, there's going to be a range of different ways that we work together. There's going to be monthly group coaching calls. There's going to be writing sessions where we come together to write together virtually. There's going to be accountability, weekly accountability and writing prompts. And there are going to be guest teachers. And one of the guest teachers that we'll be working with is Deborah Taylor, who is a wonderful book coach, has an immense range of experience in publishing. So I very much come from this Unbound place, and Deborah has a huge amount of expertise in the writing process and what works around writing and the kind of book that you want to be writing, like how you can really refine your concept and your vision. And she's got a huge amount of expertise around the publishing process. So she's going to be coming in as a guest teacher for you as well. And I'll be doing more teaching and sessions around how to really unlock your unbound voice and to really hold the space for you to write. Okay, so I won't say too much about it. I'll pop the details below this video, and, you know, take a look. If you know that you want to be a member, then like claim your space. There are some great bonuses that the first few members gain access to. If you want to have a chat with me about it, you know, if you're thinking, oh, I'm not sure if this is right for me, send me a message and we will have a chat next week sometime to see whether it's the right next step for you. But my wish for you is that you make this decision for yourself to write your book and to get it out there into the world, because absolutely what the world needs now is for more unbound women to be sharing their voices, to be speaking their truth, and to be bringing their most magical selves to the world, and creating that level of transformation is so deeply necessary right now. So if you take anything from this masterclass, it's that, you know, don't hold back. There's no need to wait. You can start doing this now, and it is deeply necessary for yourself and for the world and for the people who are waiting to hear from you. So my loves, enjoy the rest of your day. It's been a pleasure to speak with you, and I will see you again soon.